I was not in the special needs classes. I was bullied a lot as a kid because I was the shy kid and the kid who didn't know how to stand up for herself and afraid of everything. And I got bullied a lot. My brother got bullied for different reasons. He was much more outgoing than I was, really, and still is. But bullying, it's a topic that's close to my heart also because it's gotten so much better and so much worse in the last few years at the same time.
Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we're actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can all still be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Momming. We have a very special guest today, Shari Pierce. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I was a special educator for the Yonkers Public Schools in Yonkers, New York for 33 years. And I worked mainly with middle and high schoolers with moderate to severe disabilities. Best job ever. I loved every minute of it. But I did retire in 2021. I can't believe that's already 4 years ago. And when I retired, I kind of felt like I wasn't done. And I had all of these ideas and I had saved all of my notes and newsletters. And I thought that there were a lot of people out there, especially moms, who maybe could benefit from some of my experiences in the classroom. So I started writing and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and I ended up with a book that I self-published on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And it's called Life Skills. The subtitle is A Handbook for Parents and Teachers of the Intellectually Disabled. And just on the side, too, I happen to be the sibling of an adult with developmental disabilities. So I was able to see what growing up with somebody with disabilities is like and what my parents went through. And then all those years in the classroom, getting really close with those families, it kind of gave me some expertise and some ways to gently help others and give advice. So that's what I'm attempting to do now.
I love that so much, especially the part where you said, I'm not done.
No, I was not done.
Because I feel like, I don't know why this came up the other day, but we were talking about retiring and like that's a weird word. And why would you want to retire all the time? Like if you break the word down, like so you're actually being tired over and over again. That doesn't sound
That doesn't sound appealing at all.
And we kind of base our life around like, I can't wait to retire. And right before I hit record, I said that whatever comes out is divine timing. But I'll tell you what else is divine timing. A friend of mine is also running a program for disabled children and adults, if I'm not mistaken. And she does a lot of different things, but I think that there may be some collaboration that could happen between the two of you.
Oh, wow. Oh, that sounds lovely. Oh, always happy to collaborate.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing is that I think that that's what we're here to do, is to collaborate with one another, to support each other, to help each other. So like I don't have a whole lot of experience with parenting I'll say I have zero experience parenting a disabled child. And I have limited experience with disabled adults. And by limited, I mean like 3 weeks, maybe growing up in high school, where I volunteered at a Christian camp during their week in the forest for disabled adults. which was very educational at the time. And then my very best friend, her brother was had a diminished intellectual capacity. Um, and we lived together for 4 years. So
Ah.
my that's my experience. Um, and what I know from that experience is that especially Tyler was he was just a ball of love.
That's what I
And
hear from a lot of people, that you always remember those experiences because you get life lessons yourself on unconditional love and enthusiasm and joy a lot of times, even though there's a lot of complex other things that happen too that maybe we'll talk about. But there's people don't usually forget their experiences with people with disabilities because there's always something that comes shining through.
absolutely. Yeah, that was not an experience that I would trade for anything. And it was um, it was a good time. And my son was a lot younger when we were living with him, but I know he gained some experience as well. And I think that a big problem is we see them when, especially we see people with disabilities, and we are not familiar with it because they kind of keep us segregated in school. And so when we don't have exposure to something, it it kind of triggers this fight or flight response.
Yes. Yeah, because you're just imagining, and you see a them and an us. And I know when I was teaching mostly middle school kids, the classroom across the hall from me was a regular ed class, and fourth, fifth, and sixth graders. And my class was always very hands on because most of my students couldn't really read or write very well. And they really needed life skills, hence the name of the book. And so we were always doing a lot of really hands on things like cooking and messy art projects. Well, that draws a lot of attention. So the kids across the hall who are doing fractions and decimals are smelling pancakes and wonderful things coming out of my room. And I ended up taking a few of the children from that class as student helpers because it gave both sets of kids the experience of being with people that they really hadn't been with so much before and learning from each other, and then not feeling so much of that them and us. And it was a great experience for everybody. I loved it. And I think it taught everybody lessons about who we are and who these others are, who really, in a lot of ways, sure, we can say there's differences, we could list them, but in so many ways, they're not different from us. And that was a great experience.
Yeah, I think it's important to do things like that. Like that sounds like so much fun
It was.
that it gives the exposure in a non-threatening way. Um, and I think that we would have just a more inclusive society if we had times where we took the special ed classes and merged them
Yeah.
with the traditional education classes.
And it's done in some places, and it has to be done with care, just like anything else that you do where you're putting people together, whether they're special needs or not, children or adults. If you're planning a dinner party, you still look carefully at who you're going to seat next to whom and who's going to mix well. It's just, it's respect. And but it works in a lot of different capacities. And what you're saying too is we're separated so much. I watched my brother, who has developmental disabilities, get teased and bullied so much when we were both younger. We're only 18 months apart, he and I. And so we're growing up in the 70s. And there was a lot more exclusion. And because of that, I think he got teased more and bullied more because people knew he was different, but he wasn't so integrated into other things. And it caused some really traumatic things to occur. So getting people together is usually a really good idea.
Yeah. No, I think that this is we're on to something here. Um, and I had a conversation with someone the other day about there's in school, especially starting at some point, I don't know what the point is specifically, but there starts to be you're either bullied or you are the bully. And you kind of fall into one of the two categories. And I had never really thought about it that way. Um, and, like we said, that people with developmental disabilities, they're usually described as just a giant ball of love, which kind of takes them out of the
Mhm.
bullying category.
You
And
know,
so you just get bullied.
yeah, there's a lot of that. And I'll tell you very honestly, I was not in the special needs classes. I was bullied a lot as a kid because I was the shy kid and the kid who didn't know how to stand up for herself and afraid of everything. And I got bullied a lot. My brother got bullied for different reasons. He was much more outgoing than I was, really, and still is. He's 57 years old now, which now tells everybody how old I am, and which is fine. Um, but bullying, it's a topic that's close to my heart also because it's gotten so much better and so much worse in the last few years. At the same time, there's so much more awareness of it, but at the same time, there's so many different levels of bullying now that, and one of them really is people getting on their computers because everybody's online in some capacity. And so I got bullied in my neighborhood. But when I went inside my apartment, I was safe. Now people are feeling unsafe even just on their computers. And that's a scary thing. But I think there's more understanding out there now about bullying, and hopefully that makes things better for all people who are being hurt in that way.
Yeah. And it's not just on our computer, it's in our phone. Like
Yes.
it comes as a notification on your phone sometimes, and it's sad. And luckily my son being 13, 13-year-old boy doesn't care so much about social media. Because at 13, you're allowed to have a Facebook page and you're allowed to have an Instagram. Like that's the cutoff. And it's like, eesh.
Oh, that's a
Um,
scary thing.
was
Yes.
not a good time. And and I like that you acknowledge that there it is better and it's also worse because there's some betterment in we had autism awareness week at my son's school, and what I wanted to talk with them about before that happened is that I've heard some talk around from kids at the school where they're using the word autistic as a replacement for retarded. And when I talked to my son about it, he said, well, yeah, we're not allowed to say retarded at school. And I'm like, right. And
Mhm.
replacing it with the word autistic is not better. Um, it's especially when you're using it wrong, like it's not
Yeah,
being
but
used right.
no, but this is what happens. Now, if you have kids who really, it sounds like a lot of it's innocent, they just don't know. And you can educate people.
Yeah.
Easier to educate children who are just saying something out of ignorance, out of not knowing, out of hearing it someplace. Harder to educate adults who sometimes make those same mistakes. And and I'm thinking about moms a lot of times who have a disabled child, and the things that I've heard from the parents of my students that adults will say to them in public, "Oh, what's wrong with him?"
Mm.
in front of the child. "Oh, why is he doing that?" When kids say it, a lot of times you can tell where a kid's heart is. If a kid is saying to you, wow, he's a big boy. Why is he screaming on the ground? And you can see that it's really out of concern, or just questioning why this is happening. You can explain to that child, well, let me tell you, he has some special needs and he doesn't always have words like you do. So sometimes when he gets upset, this is what he does, and we just let him have a calm place. And a child understands that. Adults are more difficult sometimes. So we hold out hope for the children that they're going to learn along the way how to get along with people. And we hope for the adults too, but I'm putting my money on the kids.
Right. I remember seeing a video at, quite a few years ago, but I remember there was a child that was acting out at a store, and somebody was videoing it, and the caption was something along the lines of, "This is why we shouldn't why you shouldn't spoil your kid." And I was like, that kid's not spoiled. That kid is having a meltdown. That's a very different thing than spoiling. Like, a spoiled kid doesn't, you don't see them in the store, because spoiled kids, they don't hear no. Like, that's
Right.
the definition of a spoiled kid. What you're seeing is probably an overstimulation, or
Mhm.
a mom who said no and now we're having a meltdown
Right.
about it.
I've seen so many videos like that with a bunch of people who have no idea what the context is or what was happening 30 seconds before that video camera went on, making so much judgmental nonsense. And I feel for the children who are being recorded. It's so disrespectful. And the moms who are standing there. I mean, even when you have a child without disabilities, your 2-year old, your 3-year old has thrown a tantrum in the store or done something else where you are standing there embarrassed or upset. And when it's your special needs child who is 8, 14 years old, 25 years old, doing that kind of thing, the last thing you want is somebody judging you and having a camera near you and making commentary. And it's sad. And those moms need support, not people. And sometimes support can just be smiling at them when you go by and giving them the sign that, hey, you're having a day and it's okay, and I'm not going to get in your way. And but some of this is just rooted in so much ignorance.
And just compassion for that mom.
Yes, she needs it.
I mean, I remember when my son was younger, and in that 18 months to 2-year range, some maybe even 14 months to 2-year range, and we would go to the park and I'd say, "Okay, it's time to leave." The meltdown that happened
Hmm.
and the utter embarrassment that I had at that moment. Nobody else's kid is screaming over here, um, because we have to leave, and they probably were, and I just didn't even notice. Like,
Yes.
it's just, I have compassion for that version of Alysia.
Mhm.
um, and uh, and then I have the compassion for the mom who is dealing with it, because they just have, the kids have big emotions, and the mom doesn't have the tools. When I learned to offer my son 5 more minutes, giving him a 5-minute warning, like, it was like magic.
Mhm. There's a lot of, not everything works for every kid every time, but it's a great example. Teachers use it in the classroom. Teachers do it also. A lot of times I did it with a bell or a buzzer, because then it's not even on you. It's
Mm,
when this bell rings, not me telling you it's 5 more minutes. When this buzzer rings, the timer rings, then it's time to clean up and go to lunch or wherever it is. And little things like that help. And I tried to do some, and this conversation really isn't about a book, but I will say I tried to give a lot of little helpful hints like that. And sometimes they're just little things like that. Try this thing, try that thing, because things like this do happen. And it happens to everybody. I remember it happening to me too. And I remember it happening in school a lot of times with kids who were just overwhelmed, or something was going on that we couldn't see, but it was very real to them. And the reactions were just these big, huge reactions. And even as a teacher, you get looked at sometimes from other teachers who just are wondering what's going on and why you're letting that child tantrum, and all kinds of things like that, and it brings up feelings in everybody.
Yeah.
uh,
It- None of us like to experience the emotions of
no.
the big emotions that other people have, regardless of age.
True, very true.
Did you ever think that you would sit down and write a book?
No, I always wanted to be a special ed teacher. I was the strange little 8-year-old girl who, if you said to me at that point, what do you want to be when you grow up? After I went through the ballerina phase and discovered that wasn't going to work out, I wanted to be a special ed teacher. I watched my brother have the most amazing teacher when he was in first grade and I in third grade. And he was doing wonderful with this woman. And I, ironically, was having trouble in third grade because I was so shy that they were, shy like they call your mom shy and say, we don't know what to do with her. And somebody had the brilliant idea to let me go into my brother's classroom for, I don't know, a half hour, 3 times a week and help out in there. So
Mm,
I had the idea before that I wanted to work with kids like my brother. Now it was like, this is great. This is what I want to do. So my second choice when I was in college, I said, if for some reason I can't be a teacher, something goes wrong, I want to write. I don't know
mm.
what I want to write about. I don't know if anybody will want to read what I write, but I always had the interest. So this was a good way to kind of put everything together. But special ed's in my heart. And I consider myself really lucky that I got to do what I wanted to do when I was 8 years old.
Yeah, that is really cool. I've been through multiple iterations of what I wanted to do.
You don't have to know. It just went. My husband still says he doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up because he just has all these varied interests and has done a lot of cool things. And one thing about retirement, even though I miss a lot of things, it does open you up to other possibilities and just even hobbies and things to explore. So I'm not quite sure everything I'm going to do by the time I grow up either.
And and it's funny because if I used to be like your husband, where I was like, I don't know what I want to be when I
Mm.
grow up, and I think I finally am at a place where this is what I want to do for whether I stay grown up or not. Is there a piece of advice that you want to share with moms?
Yes. And it kind of echoes some of the things that you say in your podcast and that you've said in your book, but if you're a mom, no one is harder on you than you are on yourself, and that you need to know to give yourself some grace and some room to grow and allow the mistakes. The mistakes aren't always bad things. They teach us and they let us go in other directions, and they teach your children that people make mistakes. Give yourself some breathing room and some grace, because you need to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else. And it's okay to take care of yourself.
Oh, if we could just have that repeat in our brain, it's okay to
Yes.
take care of yourself and it's okay to make mistakes and we learn from mistakes. And like, if even I heard yesterday or the day before, like a baby doesn't fall down when they're learning to walk and think, oh, I'm never going to learn. Just get right back up and they do it. Like,
Hmm.
if we could all think of ourselves trying something new as we're just a little baby trying to learn to walk, we have that compassion for the baby. I don't think anybody goes around and says, oh my gosh, you fell down again,
Yeah.
Shari. Like,
Kids are, and they're so smart. I mean, they wouldn't get to do these huge things in their first years of life. Huge. I don't think there's ever a growth period that any of us have in our adult life that's as big as a child's in his first 3 years. And just that resilience. And that doesn't mean there aren't frustrations and throwing, as I did, throwing my doll across the room at one point because I couldn't comb her hair, and all the things that come along with learning how the world works. But we don't give ourselves enough grace. And a kid will sit there sometimes and just, not get it and just pick it up, try it again, put it down, come back to it later, not judge themselves, not think that everybody's looking at them and how are they going to get to through the next PTA meeting. They've got it together. So,
And by the way, kids do that until well-meaning adults teach them that that's not the way to behave.
Yep. Yeah, that's
So,
true.
and like my intro says, it's
Mhm.
in how we behave
Mhm.
that teaches them how to behave.
Yeah.
So they're learning it from you, or they're expressly being told by someone
Mhm.
that this is what we do. We beat ourselves up when we fail.
Yeah.
Is there a book that's been instrumental in your personal development journey?
You know, I know a lot of people relax with fiction. I relax with nonfiction. I am still that odd little girl. Um, I, generally speaking, I love biographies and autobiographies because I love that delving into somebody's life and seeing where they made mistakes and how they overcame them. And that's very inspiring to me. Having said that, though, my favorite book overall is The Little Prince.
Mm,
And it's I realize things probably look backwards and upside down here, but that's The Little Prince. I've recommended it to kids and I've recommended it to adults. It's one of those books that you read every few years because, as I've said to other kids who I've been in their lives, you don't the book doesn't change, of course, the words and the pictures are the same, but you change and you read the book differently. And the book was written many years ago, and the dedication says partially, all grown-ups were once children, although few of them remember it.
mm.
And the book is like this fantasy kid story, but when you read it, you realize that it's all the things that we love about a child's mind that's still within us also. So I find it inspiring to pick up every few years and just remind myself where we are.
I like that. And that the book for me that does that is the places you will go.
Yes,
And my aunt got me that for my graduation.
that is
And
now a classic. Yes.
mhm, yeah, so good. Where can our listeners find you? And I know you said your book is on Amazon, but yeah,
It
where can our listeners find you?
Well, yeah, the book is on Amazon and it's on Barnes and Noble and it's in Kindle and softback and hardback, however people like to do it. And you can get in touch with me through my Amazon page or through my Facebook page. It's Shari Pierce. It looks like one name, RonShari Pierce. And message me questions about working with disabled kids or saying hello or have whatever else you'd like to say. And I'm always happy to hear from people and try to help.
Awesome. And in case you didn't know, there are author pages on Amazon. And if you follow people on those pages, it's very helpful to that author.
Yes. Yes.
I have one and Shari has one, and you can support us by following us on there.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for just a beautiful conversation. And like I believe in divine timing, and for whatever reason you weren't on my calendar today. Like I said, there was a glitch in the matrix, but it worked out that we were still able to connect, and I think that was just divine timing.
I do too. I'm very grateful. This worked out. So this is a lovely conversation, and I hope it's lovely to a lot of other people too. And it's been such a pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely. Same to you. And next week, we'll have another episode of Imperfect Momming for you all coming. And until we meet again, keep healing. Bye, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AlysiaLyons.com. That's ALYSIALYONS.com. And until we meet again, keep healing.